Officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for his worship, the Mayor of Nuneaton Bedworth, Councillor Borough.
Thank you, everyone. Please take your seat. Good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m., 10th of December. We're now going to start our meeting. I'm going to go straight to the agenda. Agenda item number 1. There is no fire drill expected, but if the alarm does go off, please exit by the door by which you entered or by the fire exit, which are clearly indicated by the green lights, and then gather outside the Lloyds Bank across the street. Can I also ask all the members and member of public, if you got your phone, please keep them on silence or totally switched off. Item number 2, apologies. I have received 2. Those are Councillor Brown and Djokovic. Have we got any more? Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for Councillor Caroline Phillips.
Thank you. Any more? Item number 3, previous minutes. We have got 3 to go through. I will read the first one. The minutes of the Extraordinary Council held on 16th of September 2026, which is on page number 8 of this agenda. Oh, I beg your pardon. It should be 25. Can I confirm these are a true and accurate record? Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so hands, all those in favor. All those in favor, please show your hands. Any against? Any abstention? Carried. Number 2, the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting, which took place on the 17th of September 2025. Can I confirm these are true and accurate record? Seconded. Thank you.
I'm happy to second them.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hands. This is unanimous. Thank you. The last one, the minutes of the Extraordinary Council held on 29th of October 2025. Can I confirm these are a true and accurate record? Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Any second? Thank you, Councillor Hodge. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Yes, this is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 4, declaration of interest. Can I confirm that the schedule as listed on the website is a true and accurate record? Thank you. Item number 5, announcement. I've got one. This is about the Christmas light switch on. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the wonderful Christmas light switch on events that took place across our borough. These occasions truly embody the spirit of togetherness, the joy, the community that makes this time of year so special. I and Mayor Sami sincerely thank you to everyone involved in organizing and supporting this celebration, especially to our all the officers, event managers, those councillors who came and joined us, all the volunteers, all the traders, performers, school, and of course all the residents who turned out to join in the festive side. You all help to create magical moments for families and friends, lighting up not just our street but also our and your hearts. Thank you. Are there anyone? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, although I believe that myself and the leader probably have the same thing. As it is customary at Christmas Council, we have done a collection for the Mayor's appeal. Those of us, well, whether we're being Scrooge or not, some of us are wearing Christmas jumpers, some of us are not. We're all paying the customary fine to the Mayor's appeal. And in the interest of fairness, I will say that the leader of the County Council has also generously donated some money as well from outside. So in the spirit of togetherness at Christmas, might be the last time this evening, but I'm happy to hand over the money that has been collected.
Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as Councillor Wilson's already says, we'll also add a whip round to give you some money towards your Mayor's charity. And it would have been nice if you could have participated in the Christmas jumper, but as it is, you didn't, or you did, you didn't realise. So I would like to approach, and this is also from the Greens as well. So thanks. So there you go.
Thank you so much to Councillor Wilson, Councillor Watkins, and also County Leader Finch as well. Thank you so much. This shows that you have supported me, and that I'm sure the chair of the Chilvers Garden Heritage Centre, he will be so happy to learn that you all supported tonight to my appeal 2025-26. Thank you so much. Right, going into agenda item number 6, I have to tell you that tonight I'm not taking any supplementary questions. This is simply because we have got quite a few questions to go through. Also, this is the end of the year's meeting, so we want to make it nice and short if possible. Thank you so much. So, the first person I'm going to invite tonight on this public participation is Mr. David Sedgwick. Can I invite you to ask your question, please? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Councillor King, do you wish to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, David. Whilst the theatre continues to operate as usual, the council has been sourcing support for this very specialised area. Following the receipt of information, it is expected that we will enter into the lease negotiations as early as possible.
Councillor
Mayor,
Wilson.
Thank you. Under the rules of the Constitution, can I please move that the question be referred to the relevant overview and scrutiny panel?
Okay, can I have the seconder? Councillor Schumacher. Are we happy with this? Are we? Please show your hand if you're happy. This is unanimous. Thank you. Right, yeah, we're gonna move to question number 2. Can I invite Nicola Fittiman to ask your question, please? Thank you. Councillor Benson, you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a response for you here, Nicola. There are 2 Section 106 agreements in relation to the site. The first is dated 10th of May 2021 and relates to application 036870, land owned by Vistry. This governs the construction of the community infrastructure, open space, allotments and community building, and sets out the management and maintenance company, MMC, and rent service charge mechanisms. It requires the formation of a management company to manage public open space, community assets and infrastructure. The second is dated 19th of August 2022 and relates to application 037807. This pertains to phase 2, land owned by Tilia, with similar MMC and maintenance provisions. There have been a number of meetings between planning officers and legal to try and move the situation forwards. In October, council advice was sought. A further meeting with council has taken place on the 20th of November 2025, and following this, a formal letter was sent to Vistry, who are the house builder, on 21st of November, which set out the breaches of the Section 106 agreement and requests they set out their position in relation to their breaches
the breaches identified. A response to this letter was requested within 21 days. Upon receipt of the response, the council will then consider its position and determine the appropriate course of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent, for your reply. Now, can I invite Mr. John Blackburn to ask your question, please? Thank you. It's you, Councillor Vincent, again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'd like to refer John, details and information about the Section 106 agreements, as previously stated on the previous response I made to Nicola Fentiman, with the information regarding the land owned by Vistry and the land owned by Tellier is exactly the same. Further, the council does not have planning enforcement legal officer post, and therefore the council cannot provide salary information. Instead, the council has a planning solicitor role within the legal team and a planning enforcement team within planning. In terms of planning enforcement, since April 2025, the team has been very understaffed and has not had any permanent members of staff. The team has been resourced using a contractor staff, and we currently have one planning enforcement officer covering the whole borough. The planning enforcement team has experienced a high turnover of staff, with contractor staff, with 5 staff members having left their positions with the planning enforcement team over the last 4 years, November 2021 to April 2025. The legal team has to date been successful in recruiting to the vacant planning solicitor posts. We have tried multiple options, but are aware that there is an issue across the local government sector with legal team recruitment. At the time of full council, Warwick District Council and Stratford District Council work collaboratively and are currently out to advert for a shared planning and regulatory legal team leader position. Since a permanent planning solicitor left the council during 2023-2024, the legal team have had interim staff rather than permanent planning solicitor. The council has recently re-advertised the planning solicitor role and are continuing to look into other external options that represent best value for the taxpayer. Whilst having agency staff is not an ideal long-term solution, it has provided us with some capacity using salary savings, and the staff are working hard to deliver the required service.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. The last statement from the public today is County Councillor Keith Conducker. Can I invite you to read your statement, please? Thank you so much, Councillor Kondaka. This is no mandatory. Councillor Vincent, you want to reply, or you happy?
Just note the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the end of the public participation. Moving on to agenda item number 7. We have got 4 questions submitted by our members. So first one, I would like to invite Councillor Kondaka. Can you ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, I saw that North Warwickshire Borough Council was putting signs up at sites around their borough declaring that it was a fly tip enforcement area and that enforcement cameras were in operation. The more things that our neighbours do to deter fly tipping in their area, the more likely that people will come across the border into Nuneaton and Bedworth to fly tip if we don't also do something similar. Will the portfolio holder ensure that something like this does happen, i.e. signs in our borough as well? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Is it Councillor Vincent, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Conical. Here's a response received. We have recently installed permanent fly tipping warning notices along the laybys of the A444, as well as other known hotspots within the borough. They're intended to directly target those who may be considering fly tipping their waste. Without wanting to compromise the ongoing work and efforts to tackle fly tipping, confirm that we regularly target areas with CCTV systems to try and gather evidence against those who think it's acceptable to blight our borough through their selfish and illegal actions. However, I can confirm that we have several prosecutions currently going through the courts regarding recent high-profile incidents. I would therefore like to remind those who think that they can use our borough as a dustbin that it is illegal to fly tip, and if we catch you, we will take formal action against you. In offering reassurance on the concerns raised on offenders coming from outside the borough, the 6 local authorities have recently agreed to work together to tackle fly tipping across the county. It is hoped that by sharing best practices and information, a more collaborative approach will lead to a reduce in fly tipping across the entire county. Thank you.
Thank you for your reply. Question number 2, can I invite Councillor Wilson to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the Chair of the Housing and Communities Overview and Scrutiny Panel. At the extraordinary council in September 2025, Council resolved to call a special OSP and invite stakeholders to give evidence about what happened and possible lessons learned regarding the events in the summer and the asylum and immigration system. Could the Chair of the OSP update Council on progress towards fulfilling the resolution of full Council? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips is not here, so can I invite Councillor Watkins to reply to this question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for your question. The panel at the Housing and Communities OSP agreed to have this item as part of the already scheduled meeting of the 22nd of January 26, due to the agenda being light on items. Invites to the meeting have been sent out to Serco, Warwickshire Police, Warwickshire County Council Communities Team and MBVC Communities Team. A representative from the Home Office is also being located with the help of the MP. Whilst we await response, the Council continues to be proactively engaged with all stakeholders, both in terms of lessons learned and in relation to sharing good practice with local authorities and other stakeholders. We are working closely with MHCLG Communities Unit to establish a network of learning for the regions impacted. In addition, we actively participate in the Warwickshire Migration Partnership via regular meetings and subgroups to coordinate migration services, share best practices and strengthen partnerships. We are also a member of the West Midlands Strategic Migration Partnership to deliver a coordinated and collaborative approach to all matters related to migration. You can have that sent to you if you want it.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. By the way, I like your Christmas jumper. Is that true one? Thank you. Question number 3, can I invite Councillor Rose to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question is this, derelict buildings, overgrown sites, promised community centres sit empty across Nuneaton and Bedworth. Developers are dodging legal duties, as we hear, including those for local facilities, and frequently secured investment through means of like Section 106 is not even spent, while enforcement backlogs and legal team struggles persist. So what is a clear strategy beyond individual actions between individual posts? What is that clear strategy beyond locums and surveys to clear these backlogs, to force developers and owners to deliver, spend obligations and restore trust in council's ability to look after our borough? What concrete steps will be taken to fix the capacity failures for good? And can we please have a solution-focused answer? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Vincent again? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is important to note that not all sites the council can do anything about, even with engagement that the council may pursue, unless other powers are considered, and may not be purely a council matter. And specifically, legal and planning teams. There are other parts, such as the empty property activity in the private sector housing, and the recent cabinet report considered 3rd of December 2025 ref probate concession services contract. In terms of planning enforcement, again, on some of my previous answers today, since April 2025, the team has been very understaffed and has not had any permanent members of staff. The team has been resourced using contractor staff, and we currently have one planning enforcement officer covering the whole borough. A restructure of the planning enforcement team has recently been agreed, which would see the creation of a principal planning enforcement post together with a planning enforcement technician post. This will ensure that the planning enforcement team is well resourced in order to cope with the increasing number of alleged breaches, as well as complexity of planning enforcement cases in the borough. A full-time Section 106 agreement monitoring officer post has also been approved. The role will maintain the register of Section 106 agreements and proactively monitor the agreements to ensure that the provisions within them are recorded and enacted efficiently. The role will also operate in a more proactive manner in respect of the monitoring of legal agreements and sites. The legal team has to date been unsuccessful in recruiting to the vacant planning solicitors posts. We have tried multiple options, but are aware that there is an issue across the local government sector with legal team recruitment. We have recently re-advertised the planning solicitor role and are continuing to look into other external options. Whilst having agency staff is not an ideal long-term solution, it has provided us with some capacity, and staff are working hard to deliver the required service. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Councillor, for your reply. The fourth and last question from the members tonight. Can I invite Councillor Wright to ask your question, please?
With energy costs set to rise in the new year, could the responsible cabinet member please clarify what measures are being taken to improve energy efficiency and reduce wastage throughout the borough?
Thank you. Is it Councillor Watkins, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wright, for your question. In terms of the homes of our residents, the council is actively tackling fuel poverty on a number of fronts. For those residents within council housing stock, we are an active participant in the local authority delivery scheme, improving the thermal efficiency of our own dwellings, along with the installation of energy efficient boilers, double glazing and roof insulation. For homeowners, we have successfully bid for 1.4 million of funding from the Midlands Net Zero Hub to deliver grants for energy efficiency measures to their homes. The ongoing decarbonisation delivery at the Pingles leisure site will see only electric being used from early April 2026, with the installation of PV panels supporting the overall electric costs. The new modern heating and ventilation system, along with the internal refurbishment, will help drive the efficiency of the building going forward. Likewise, the delivery of the new Bedworth physical activity hub has incorporated energy efficiency equipment as part of the building design, including PV panels that will help support efficiency measures in its ongoing operational delivery. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Moving on to item number 8, special urgency. This is for noting only. Agenda number 9, Cabinet report. Can I invite Councillor Watkins to present the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to present the report as is and open to questions.
Thank you. Does any Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few questions. Can I take them individually if I may, so it's easier for us all to follow?
Go individually, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first question is on page 46 under 2B, the Public Space Protection Order. So this is to Councillor Venson. Could he, I mean, I'm fully supportive of it because of the issues I've encountered in my ward and seen around the borough. Indeed, I was a great proponent of it. Is he able to confirm now that the PSPO is in fact in place and that we now have the resource necessary to be able to enforce any breaches of the PSPO?
Thank you. Councillor Venson, you want to answer?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Can I get back to you with that answer, if that's okay, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next question is on page 48 under 4A, which is to Councillor Hughes. When it came to full count to the cabinet, forgive me, I can't remember if you were there, and I think it might have been the leader who moved this. I can't remember. But I did raise about how if this does go ahead, that the council needs to be having an exit strategy in case whatever happens to the football club, because we can't guarantee it will still be there in 30 years. We would still have the land, but potentially buildings on there, which would necessitate a going concern, and that could pose additional impacts on this council or our successor. Could the portfolio holder give a reassurance that officers are looking into not just setting up the arrangements as going through cabinet, but looking at what happens should the lease fail and we end up having any buildings which are on the land?
Councillor Hughes, you want to reply?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yeah, the officers are looking into all possibilities and due diligence into the Bellevue site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. At the last council, I asked the leader of the council or the finance cabinet member about the £750,000 overspend in the housing revenue account capital outturn for last year. And my question relates to the capital monitoring for the HRA. He told me last time that he'd get back to me on exactly what that was. It also says in the last report that they'd adjust the budget to reflect the need for the spend, but I can't see that in the capital monitoring report this evening. It might be in a different line, but it'd be useful to know how that budget adjustment been made.
Who is replying to this question? Is it Councillor Hay, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think if you see in the capital monitoring outturn report that's further on in this agenda, things have very much evened up and what have you, and so on. I haven't got all the detail on it, but I think there's sufficient information in that report later on in the council to answer most of your questions, quite honestly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You want to add on? Okay, go on.
Yeah, thank you. That was a bit of a double-headed sort of question, weren't it? So I did promise to get back to you, and I haven't, but I definitely will do after this meeting. And it's quite impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. For next question, can I invite Councillor Wilson again, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know I only have 2 questions left on my list. So my next question is on item 4D, the Bedworth Regeneration and Investment Plan. So to Councillor King. My main question really is she yet in a position to be able to tell us what the projects have been identified to take forward as part of the investment plan? Because the report which went to Cabinet had profiled expenditure, which must mean that we have some idea of what money we'll be spending in which years. I think residents should, and full council should know what projects we're looking at, as we did with the Nuneaton projects some years ago. Thank you.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the present moment, it's under negotiations. It was put through to Parliament in November. So at the moment, I think the next meeting, then the actual what people have put forward, we can then relate back to the public. And I quite agree with you. The people of Bedworth do need to know what the projects are.
Thank you. Is it last question, isn't it? Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank you for your indulgence. My final question is on page 47 under item 3B to Councillor Hughes about the culture update. And I do fully agree that we need to sell the best of our borough because we have a lot to offer. But could I make a plea to the portfolio holder to go wider than just George Eliot? As fantastic as she was and is, there is far much more to Nuneaton and Bedworth than just George Eliot. We have Larry Grayson, who many people of a certain age will remember, and also our very own Freeman of the Borough, Gareth Edwards, who is a Hollywood film director and is very inspiring to young residents across this borough. And I think we should be selling the benefits of our homegrown talent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Hughes. You want to reply?
I agree with Councillor Wilson. There is a lot more that we can do regarding the cultural heritage of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Certain Street. Can I now invite Councillor Clark to ask you a question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can I wish you Merry Christmas, first of all, and congratulations on your jumper, and Merry Christmas to everyone across the borough. And I will say Merry Christmas. Mr. Mayor, my question really is to the Councillor King in relation to business and regeneration in Nuneaton. The Cabinet was provided with an update in relation to progress and regeneration projects, but it's identified as coming up to a crucial point in relation to the projects scheduled for completion in March 2026. This being around the leases in Abbey Street. Could the Cabinet member give us an update on that progress, please? I have another question, if I may, as well, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The leases in Abbey Street have been done. One is actually opened as a new business. The leases and regeneration, at the minute, we're still under early stages of negotiations. We have got a high interest, and that is all going through, progressing really nicely. At the end of February, BAM will be out of regeneration, and all the leases and all the new businesses should be moving in ready. It's all on schedule at the moment.
Thank you. Last question from Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I appreciate that, and it's pleasing to hear that these projects are progressing. My concern actually was more directed in relation to the college regeneration part of Abbey Street, and I'm a little bit concerned in so far as we've already given them a significant amount of monies to get the project up and running and fitted out. Can the portfolio holder tell us that if there's going to be any more monies required, or whether we have now given the monies that we've got in relation to that project in order to ensure its delivery?
Thank you. Is it Councillor King again?
Thank you. The negotiations are still going on with the college, but at the moment it is all going very smoothly and to plan.
Thank you. Now, can I invite Councillor Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quick one. That's on a point 4D regarding Bedworth Regeneration and Investment Plan. I've been talking to a number of social organisations around, especially around my patch. Can I have, please, Cabinet's reassurance that whatever activities will be coming out of the regeneration and investment plan will also reach outside of immediate Bedworth town centre, and not just in terms of kind of investment projects themselves, but community and community centres are engaged outside of the immediate town centre, because I'm hearing across that people are not aware. I know that some suggestions were made, and at least I think 2 weeks ago, I don't think there was any clarity about what's happening outside of town centre itself. Thank you.
Is it Councillor King again?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Rob. At the present moment, we're still having lots of meetings and negotiations on this, but we have done the new boundaries, so it will include some of the outside town centre.
Thank you. Now, can I invite Councillor Kondaker, please?
Thank you. I've got a few bits, so we'll do them one at a time. On 2A, it says a review of the HRA business plan is due to begin, and that was in September. So we're now 10th of September, so we're now 3 months on. So has it started, and do we have a timescale for when that's sort of going to be completed and go through? That's my first question. She'll take one at a time.
Okay, thank you. Is it Councillor Watkins, please?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Concord. Yeah, the review is still ongoing, and we're having a look at all the services that are provided and who does what. So everything is going along nicely. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2.
And this Councillor Hughes, on 3A, I know the overall completion is expected October 2026. The actual building of the physical activity hub, I believe, is due at the end of March 2026. Is that actually when it will be open to the public, or is there going to be a period when the building's finished but it's not actually open and operating?
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Councillor Kandaka. Yes, the building will be open to the public. It's scheduled to open to the public March 2026. There's going to be a handover where the old activity, the old leisure centre will close while the new one is opened, but it will be a really short window. But it is, yes, due March 2026 for the initial opening fully to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Is it third and last? Make it third and last.
Well, the other bit's actually more a statement, so I'll tack that on. 3C, it says the outcome of the consultation on the budget will be issued back no later than the 18th of February 2026. That doesn't really give any time, because the budget meeting is actually on the 18th of February. So if we don't get any feedback a lot before then, there's no chance of anyone else doing any amendments or knowing what's going on there. And my other little statement I'll tack on is on 3D. So the completion of Abbey Street and the redevelopment of Vicarage Street will provide the opportunity to thoroughly assess what is right in the long term for the Bridge to Living site and things. And please do wait till the other ones are actually, really completed and things, so we know better what would be the best option there.
Thank you. Anybody wishes to reply? Thank you. In that case, then another question is from Councillor Walsh, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question here for Councillor King, once again. In reference to the Bedworth regeneration, I attended the Believe in Bedworth Day. It was very impressive. And what was amazed to me, what I saw, was the fountain in front of the almshouse was actually working. But I believe it's been subsequently turned off. Can you please tell me what is actually happening with that, and why was it turned on specifically for that day? Was it just to impress? Or is the reality, is it going to be funded and put back into action?
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep giving me the questions tonight. Happy Christmas. Yes, no, there is a lot of problems with the fountain. There's a lot of maintenance and work, which is very costly, that needs to be done. So it was managed to get on just for that day in Pacifically, but at the present moment, we haven't got the funding to keep it going. And I do believe it is owned by Sir Nicholas, is it? Yes, Nicholas. So there's a bit of a debate on what we do with the fountain.
Thank you. Second question from Councillor Walsh.
As far as I'm aware, I may be wrong, and perhaps Councillor Watts can clarify, with regards to the ownership of the actual, or the workings, I should say, of the fountain, I believe that is within the council's remit, as far as I'm aware. As opposed to, it is within the grounds of the, obviously the Arms Houses, and which is obviously from the Nicholas Chamberlain Trust. But I believe...
Councillor Walsh, finish your question and then someone will reply.
Basically, on that basis, will the council then be funding the repairs and such like?
Thank you. Councillor Watkins, please.
Sorry, I'm not jumping in. It's just that I have had something to do with this. The council are in a lease for the maintenance, but not for renewal or replacement. Things are being discussed through the Bedworth, I believe in Bedworth board, about if they want to replace the fountain, where the money will come from and that. But the finance cannot go on the public of Nuneaton and Bedworth to replace the fountain. So there is a lease, but it's for the maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? If not, there is no vote required for this item. Thank you. Item number 10, notice of motion. Could I invite the Councillor Wilson to move the motion 8 set out in the agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do move it as printed. First and foremost, the issue of identity cards is a fundamental shift in the relationship between citizen and state. I don't think anyone can deny that, and I don't think actually there's been any requirement for ID cards in the past 200 odd years unless it has actually been a time of war. But we are not in a time of war, Mr. Mayor. And it has always been, and as I said at the Extraordinary September Council, that the presumption in English law has until fairly recently been that a person is free to do whatever they want so long as it is not prescribed by law. And it is, I fear, a worrying trend, Mr. Mayor, that we are moving away from that into compulsion to prove you are who you say you are at every single step. Now, residents and councillors may be wondering, what does this have to do with Nuneaton and Bedworth? It's a legitimate question. But let me ask you something else. What will it not have to do with each and every single resident of Nuneaton and Bedworth? And we say this about politics all the time in general. People say, well, what does politics do for me? Think about every decision we make in our lives. It is governed by something in relation to politics, whether we like it or not, whether we drive on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, whether I can stop at this junction or whether I can keep going. But now, to say I am who I say I am, that is a gross overstep of the role of the state. Now, what does this potentially mean for us as a borough council? And whoever may succeed us, one or two, I don't know, but it will affect whatever succeeds us. Are we going to be saying that every time someone accesses a council service, they are going to have this card to prove they are who they say they are? Are we going to say that before you can submit a planning application, you have to present your card? If they present as homeless, are they going to have to present their card? If we want them to sign up to the green bin service, Mr. Mayor, are we going to say, before we take you 45 quid, we want to see your card? Before they submit a complaint about a council service, are they going to want to see their card? Passports to leisure, do we want a card before we see that? Applying for a library card or applying for a bus pass? These are, if you think about it, these are little things we do, but are actually going to be fundamentally changed potentially by this new identity card system. And where I actually have some agreement with the leader of the council, as he knows, is over local government reform. And local government reform is going to cost a bomb. It's going to cost councils a bomb, because whatever happens, there will be redundancy payments for officers because it will be streamlined, allegedly. Or people always say there's savings, and it's not always the case. But we are now seeing that cost being shoved down to the local taxpayer. There will need to be some kind of interface with this national database. We already know, and Councillor Hay and I have had these discussions, that our IT systems are woefully inadequate in a lot of places because things happen, things change, IT evolves. We're going to have yet another requirement to interface with a database and more expenditure to work with this identity card system. And to cap it all off, in the budget last week, I think it was last week, time moves quickly in politics, the Chancellor of the Exchequer announced that to pay for all this, just the first bit will cost £1.4 billion. At a time when she is increasing the taxes on each and every single one of us in this chamber. Working people will be paying for that. And we know food waste is coming in, for example. That is not going to be fully funded. We will have to stump up some of that cash. What could that £1.4 billion have actually done to help our council services? What could that £1.4 billion have done across our borough? Let's just have a look at some things that it could do. Looking at reducing business rates. A few months ago, an Act of Parliament went through scrapping the business rate relief. We know that many people complain about the cost of opening a business in this borough. It isn't actually usually the rents that harm people. It is the cost of business rates, which we aren't always the owner of, by the way. I know the leader of the council probably expressed this same frustration as I do. Oh, council must reduce business rates on this. Actually, we don't own that building. But business rates do kill people. We could have abolished business rates on markets. We know that when we put our markets up in Nuneaton and Bedworth, we actually pay for the square footage of those market stores as a business rate. We could have funded the infrastructure or part of infrastructure needed across the country for all this 1.5 million extra homes which are being forced on us. And we all cry out as local councillors that we don't want or have issues with local developments if we haven't got the schools, the hospitals, the GP surgeries, even a play area, even a footpath in place. What could that £1.4 billion actually provide? Homelessness support. We know that for every person that we put up in homelessness, that we have to pay out £100 a night, but we only get £100 per week from the government. I could go on, and I will address some of that in my winding up speech if I get there, Mr. Mayor, but I fully support this motion.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sue Malcolm, seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second it and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. I now invite all the members to speak on this proposed motion. Can I just remind everybody to keep your comments relevant, respectful, and also within the standing order. Thank you so much. Is it Councillor Watkins? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose thank you for the motion. But once again, you're right. I will actually agree with you. You're bringing something here to Nuneaton and Bedworth local authority that's a national issue. It's nothing to do with us for voting or talking about in this chamber, but it did give you plenty of time to go on and talk about it. I've looked closely at your motion and what it says and what it doesn't say. So what it says is, write to the three MPs to express the council's opposition to the policy of mandatory ID cards and ask them to vote against these proposals in Parliament on behalf of the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. So you've spoke to all the residents in Nuneaton and Bedworth. Well done. Fundamental change in the relationship between citizen and state, it will result for the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth. Will it? Your opinion. This council does not believe that the introduction of ID card system will resolve the challenges of our country faces. Again, your opinion. Will add additional burdens to law-abiding citizens. Again, your opinion. Fail to address the issues caused by those who fail to abide by the laws of the land. Again, your opinion. What it does not say. We can't tell the MPs how to vote. They'll vote with the whip or however they feel. they want to vote. So we can ask them to do things, but we have got a lot of other things that we would like to ask them to do. Where is the evidence that the people of Nuneaton and Bedworth want our MPs to vote against this? Again, you've supplied us with nothing. You've just put your opinion forward. What additional burdens to law-abiding citizens? Nothing named. Why wouldn't this tackle the challenges our country faces? You've given nothing again. What evidence is there that this would fail to address the issues caused by those who fail to abide by the law? Again, no evidence gave. Mr. Mayor, I'll be voting against this. I've got nothing to hide. If I need an ID card, that's fine. I've got my driving licence, I've got my passport, and I've got my mobile phone, which tracks everywhere I go. So just waiting for the missus to find my phone on, and then she'll know exactly where I am. So everybody knows where everybody is, Mr. Mayor. So I've got no problem at all with an ID card. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I've got quite a few raised hands. First one is, can I invite Councillor Hughes to speak, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think asking this council to oppose something that doesn't exist yet is not really good governance. It's just political theatre. Our responsibility here is to deal with reality, not what's hypothetical. Moreover, it's rather inconsistent for the Conservatives opposite to present themselves in defenders against ID cards when their own party introduced mandatory voter ID nationally. I'd just like to inform everybody here at the council, Mr. Rees-Mogg later admitted in a conference that it was used to shape the electorate. You might want to reflect on this. It might be better to await an actual draft legislation before taking a formal stance. I will be voting against this motion.
Next online is Councillor Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Right, where do I start? As Councillor Hughes already mentioned just a little while ago, the roles were swapped. So I do wonder, how does it happen always when you are in opposition, you are liberal, and when you're in position, you're actually becoming conservative? So my question is really about mandatory piece, and on some part I agree, this is a national issue, but in terms of introducing of mandatory ID cards, what really concerns me, I personally don't mind having digital or ID card. I have a couple, but the mandatory aspect is really important. But what it really means, I don't think we have fully reflected. What does it mean for the council services? What will it mean already with our systems, which we are just barely got up the foot and actually introducing it, and replacing legacy systems? What kind of staff training will it involve? What kind of liabilities will it involve in terms of responsibilities of the council and additional costs, which already we know quite aware. We are all quite aware how government has reduced the funding as much as possible, and we are struggling to maintain lots of crucial services. So what I'm going to propose here is an amendment to the motion. I would like to introduce between the first and the second paragraph an additional text here, which makes it more relevant and subject to what this council should be about. And I'll read it out. It basically comes after the first paragraph. Furthermore, Council is deeply concerned that local authorities could be expected to bear the costs of administrative burden of implementing identity verification processes, particularly at a time when Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council is already modernising legacy IT systems to better serve residents. Council therefore calls on the government to guarantee that any future legislation on identity verification is truly focused on solving issues, not creating new ones, and fully respects citizens' rights, provides clarity on funding and responsibilities for organisations involved, including councils, and prevents the expansion of centralised data systems without proper democratic scrutiny, safety, and privacy. And reflecting, this is about anticipation of legislation, and I believe a monitoring officer has a copy of my amendments. Thank you.
I've said I'm happy to accept that as a friendly amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Is that seconded? Okay, thank you. Does anybody wish to talk or speak? Only on this amended motion. Evening all. I am going to adjourn this meeting for 10 minutes. What's the time now? Can I ask everyone to be back here for 1:15? Thank you. please take your seat. Welcome back, everyone. Does anybody wish to speak on the amendment motion, please? Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to confirm that what Councillor Rose is added to the original motion. And then we can speak on this. So no, I won't be supporting this one either, because I wouldn't support the first one, and I won't support something that makes false promises. Council therefore calls on the government to guarantee that any future legislation on identity verification is truly focused on solving issues. Well, we can't make them guarantees. The government can't make them guarantees. We don't even know what's on the table yet. We don't know what's happening. I wish I had a crystal ball like Councillor Rose and Conservatives opposite, but I don't. And if I did, perhaps get myself some personality, because one of the councillors don't think I've got that either. So no, I won't be voting on the amendment either, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Only on the amendment. Councillor Hinkling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I concur largely what Councillor Watkins said about the amendments, obviously added on to the previous amendments as well. Regarding digital ID cards, I don't have massively strong views, but I do think the arguments made before about it affecting the relationship between the citizen and the state does seem rather overblown. For example, the party opposite did introduce compulsory voter ID, which is the closest relationship between the citizen and the state, which I can think of, which obviously affected everybody who wishes to vote and hold politicians to account. We already have multiple forms of digital ID. My phone's got a government app on it for accessing, I think I did it for driving licence or passport renewal, I can't remember which one. Again, the vast majority of us in here will have those particular things. And of course, during COVID, most of us had an NHS app as well. Now, I appreciate that was during an emergency, but we did actually have these sorts of things. I think it's a bit rich as well that the party opposite do, people talk about civil liberties regarding digital ID cards, when the party opposite literally 2 meetings ago wanted to scrap the Human Rights Act and the ECHR, which is about our civil liberties. So therefore, I can't accept the amendment to the addition to the amendment. Again, I find it a bit vague, this opening line, the council calls on the government to guarantee that any future legislation on ID is truly focused on solving issues, not creating new ones. It seems a bit kind of vague and wishy-washy in my view, that particular part. So yes, I won't be supporting the motion and the amendment tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I will be brief as there is a very long agenda tonight, but I do want to disagree with some of the comments made already. I do think it is appropriate that this council discusses this sort of thing, because while we do govern the borough, we also play a representative role as the people's representatives on the council, and we are often told that lower tier authorities, I've said this before, should exist because they are closer to the people. So it is entirely appropriate that we make representations to the government based on what we believe collectively when we vote. Beyond that, I do think that it is also appropriate because the scheme that the government is going to propose has very real, as has been discussed, ramifications for this council. And I'd like to thank Councillor Rose for his amendment. I am not ideologically predisposed to recreate the Conservative Liberal coalition, but on this instance, I do agree with him because it really clarifies what the motion is about. It will require very practical burdens on this council with potentially large outlays on IT infrastructure. Now, Councillor Hay sort of rebuked me when he took over the portfolio in a gentle, friendly way that we hadn't updated the council's IT infrastructure, but it's not so easy in finding the money in the capital programme, as he well knows. But this will potentially sort of bring the issue forward and make it a much more live issue that we do have to find that capital expenditure at a time when we have a very high capital budget. And it also has very real ramifications for the council in terms of the regulatory burden and additional checks that have to go, because the central government, as I have complained before, and you will know this, Mr. Mayor, is very good at putting burdens and regulatory checks on local councils, especially in things like housing and social policy, that councils then have to fund and have to follow through with in terms of their manpower. And on the philosophical point, as has been alluded to, I am totally opposed to this. I have a much more sort of classical definition of liberty rather than the sort of European one, as Councillor Hickling alluded to with the Human Rights Act. And I do think that it is wrong that in the modern age we place burdens on the law-abiding citizen to try to solve problems that are caused by the non-law-abiding citizens. Everybody has to behave a certain way rather than deal with crime. Rather than dealing with energy costs, we have to sort of reduce our energy consumption. That is the wrong way to go about it. We should solve the root causes rather than impose burdens on everybody with an ID scheme. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now, my Deputy Councillor T. Safford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was originally going to speak on the original motion, but I shall speak now. I just want to say my views on the matter. I'm completely opposed to the government's proposition to mandate digital ID. The majority of the residents that I've spoken to are also against the mandate of digital ID. I, including nearly 3 million people, have signed a petition to say that I'm against the mandate of digital ID. I hope it's not too little too late. I'm aware a hearing has already gone to Parliament earlier in the week, but I do hope the MPs do vote against it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before we all break up for Christmas, can I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas? So I'm going to oppose this amendment and the motion, Mr. Mayor. I disagree with the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party regarding ID. In fact, I support the ID proposals of the government, Mr. Mayor. I think ultimately it will be a good idea. I think in terms of thinking about ID, part of the reason why I support it is that we've got a good example to follow in Estonia. I think Estonia would be a good example to follow in terms of their EID programme. They've had this for about 20 odd years now in Estonia. And as many members will know, Estonia is a democracy. It's a NATO ally, very important country in our relationship with NATO and Europe. As many will know, Estonia was occupied for 50 years by the tyrannical, evil Soviet Union. So Councillor Finch can hear that. Yes, the Soviet Union was tyrannical and evil, and we don't need to lecture the Estonians on democracy because they value it every single day. It's so important to them. In Estonia, ID cards actually safeguard privacy, and it's a very important part of their way of life. So they use ID cards in Estonia to vote, so it allows citizens to vote. It allows them to sign documents digitally. The ID card also allows them to access healthcare and education, banking and online shopping services. So actually in Estonia, they've completely flipped this on its head. And actually they say ID cards actually protect them and they safeguard their privacy rather than it being something that's imposed by the government. Actually, it's actually about empowering citizens. So actually, if we follow the Estonian example, so I'd say to Keir Starmer, let's look at Estonia as a pioneering example of this. Been around for 20 years, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, I will be opposing the motion and the amendment tonight, Mr. Mayor. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No. Right. In that case, then we move on to the vote for the proposed amendment included to the original motion.
Can we have a recorded vote, please, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Speak up. Councillor Amici. Oh, my spreadsheet's gone wrong. There we go. Councillor Etienne. Councillor Bird. Councillor Bonner. Councillor Bull. Councillor Clark. Councillor Collette. Councillor Cooper, Councillor Croft, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Gutteridge, Councillor Hancox,
Against.
Councillor Hartshorn, Councillor Hay,
Against.
Councillor Hickling, Councillor Hughes,
Against.
Councillor Jenkins, Councillor Kangura, Councillor King, Councillor Condacor, Councillor S. Markham, Councillor W. Markham, Councillor Panda, Councillor Price, Councillor Rose, Councillor Saru,
Against.
Councillor J. Shepherd, Councillor T. Shepherd, Councillor C. Smith,
Against.
Councillor R. Smith, Councillor Benson,
Against.
Councillor Walsh, Councillor Watkins,
Against.
Councillor Wilson, Councillor Wright,
Thank you, everyone. It's 18 against 15 and 2 abstentions. So the amended motion is carried. This becomes substantive motion. Thank you. I think it was Councillor Schumacher. You want to speak? Councillor Hancox.
Speaking to the substantive motion, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an issue that's been around for a while, and clearly people are going to have lots of different opinions on it. Over the last couple of years, I've probably changed my mind on it, but because this was in front of us tonight, I've made my mind up to go down a particular route. I was a little bit surprised constitutionally, Mr. Mayor, because I wasn't convinced that this was a matter for this council, as it's not a direct matter for this council. We can't take a decision on this, and as has been said, it's going to be the government. But regardless of that, Mr. Mayor, it's in front of us tonight, and it's useful to have that debate. I found it somewhat bizarre, and I'm sorry if I repeat this, but it's important. I found it somewhat bizarre. And bearing in mind the next agenda item that we've got about elections, that it was the Tories that enforced ID on the electorate for elections. And that hit, most of all, the people that were least likely not to have that identification, like passports and driving licenses. I know you could apply for some other thing, but, you know, some people probably wouldn't do that. Councillor Wilson mentioned about how it would interfere with things. I actually think, and the councillor just by me gave the example of Estonia, and I looked into it, and there's more than Estonia. There's other countries as well that have introduced this. And one of the things that convinced me about it was how it can make it easier to access those different services. So it's not just an imposition on people. I've just got really thinking that you have pretty much everything now, your phones, facial recognition if you're in the street or in a shop, and that. I actually don't see the harm in having this type of ID. I spoke about it being somewhat bizarre. I find it even more bizarre, Mr. Mayor, that the Tories are now aligning themselves with Jeremy Corbyn on this issue. It's absolutely amazing what people will do to win an argument. Are they that scared of reform that they've got to get in bed with Jeremy Corbyn and his new party?
Thank you, Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is obviously an emotive subject, and I think people have given heartfelt views. You can see even on this side of the chamber, there are differences of opinion on this. I've spoken to colleagues, I've spoken to friends and what have you, and everybody seems to have a completely different view on this, whatever which way. But I'll be voting against this motion. Not particularly because I oppose or agree with the issue of identity cards, but I just don't think that this is a proper use of precious council time. I think there are far better things we could be debating in this chamber, and things that actually directly affect the people and which we can actually influence directly. And I don't think we have going to have a lot of influence over this. We can write to our MPs. And I think there are better things we could be debating. For example, we could write to our MPs to urge them to support our efforts to tackle the problem of empty domestic and business properties in the borough, where we're leading the way in our decisions on surcharges for properties left empty by appointing an empty properties officer to tackle the 1,500 plus empty properties in the area. And I know that Rugby have recently followed example on surcharges. But hang on, wait a minute. We have written to our MPs on this matter. We didn't waste precious council meeting resources on this. We just got on with it, right? We ought to be writing to our MPs about local government grant settlements following 14 years of asset stripping by the party opposite. As far as I can see, this is all just grandstanding to try to woo reform voters. It does nothing to enhance the lives of residents of the borough, and we have no influence on the matter. Remember, vote Tory, get reform. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers before I hand it over to Sue Markham? W. Markham.
I would go a little bit further than just identity cards. I would actually take DNA from every child that's born today. So in 50 years' time, the crime won't exist. Rape, murder, because everybody will have their DNA on file. So I would even go further. Thank you.
Councillor Etienne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's really interesting that the party opposite on the whole have identified multiple forms of government ID that already exist. So why are we creating a further ID system? Now, let's look at what that means locally. Let's not ignore the fact that we're looking at putting apparently £1.4 billion into that. It's a government project, so it's going to overspend. So let's say it's probably double. Let's share that double, so over £2 billion around local authorities to look after local people. Why are we talking about it today? Why? Because I, like everyone in here, is an elected representative of the communities we serve. Therefore, we are entitled and should have a voice. And for anybody from the party opposite to suggest it isn't our affair, it very much is. It affects our community and the people that elected us into this room. They have to be heard. They want to be heard. They are heard through us. We are asking the council to write to our elected MPs, sadly, who happen at the moment to be Labour, and asking them to voice and represent our communities. That is our job. That is what we are here to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roach.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. And on this one, I agree with Councillor Hay. I don't think we should be spending too much time on this. But the issue is here is that we spent lots of time to talk about all the nice features, people having it on their phones, etc., etc. The key word here is mandatory. That's an issue. That's what legislation essentially is, proposing, proposed legislation is going to address. So it's going to be to you, to you, to you, to you, to everyone. So we are not talking about choice of phones. We are talking about certain form of which is going to be digitally linked ID, which is going to be mandatory. And on this occasion, I think it's quite important that, like we all experienced as a councillors, whenever, it's great to talk about things which are out there and relate to other people, other countries, etc., etc. When it actually addresses you, and you are forced to do something, then it becomes an issue. And of the people I've been speaking, it is an issue when it becomes mandatory. Thank you.
Councillor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief also. During the war, we had ID cards. I'm sure it's okay. It's not digital, but needs must certainly at the time. But you know, I recognise, as what everybody else is saying tonight, that we have multiple forms of ID that are interlinked and connected. And I mean, I'm not even going down the road of, you know, what Councillor Rose says about mandatory. We probably still haven't had, you know, the consultation with public and other bodies out there to, you know, as to where we're going to go. And, you know, I understand what, you know, Councillor Etienne says. Yes, we are the people and we are elected. All right, I totally agree that, you know, but also, you know, I've not had a sea of people, you know, pushing me down saying, you know, I don't want this. Nobody's approached me. So I'm open-minded and believe that, you know, with all the IDs, a passport, driving license, they're all electronically connected nowadays. You know, they're all out there. You know, this might be a one-stop shop that simplifies it all for everybody. And again, like has been said many times, mandatory voter ID. Your party brought it in. You know, and you know what they claimed afterwards. Well, I say what you know, Mr. Rees-Mogg claimed afterwards. You know, I shouldn't use this word in the chamber, but it sounded like gerrymandering to me. But I think it was. But there you go. I mean, let's leave it as it is. ID. What is wrong with ID? We've all got it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I think a lot of us are repeating the same thing again and again. So what I'll do is I'm going to give last speaker to say something, Councillor Christian, and then we'll go to Councillor Schumacher. Councillor Christian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it just comes down to an issue of scope. You talk about making representations about national issues. We have a system in place for national issues. It's called the Member of Parliament. We have petitions that Councillor Shepherd referenced to raise these issues in Parliament. That's where this issue needs to be discussed. And a digital ID shouldn't have any effect on us as a council. We already have to verify, I'm sure Councillor Watkins will confirm, in order to rent somebody a house, we have to confirm they have a right to rent. That is already statute in place. So we already have these systems to actually make these checks. I don't see how a digital ID is going to make that any more or any less expensive than we already have. So I'm voting against this motion, just purely on scope.
Thank you. I am now coming to Councillor Wilson. Yes, you Malcolm decided not to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's actually quite a shame that that I think the only person who has spoken on the other side tonight who actually attempted to present any argument in favour of identity cards was Councillor Bonner. No one else actually took any time really to present an argument in favour of what it will do for us. I disagree with him, but it's an argument nevertheless. Now, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with my historical friend on the other side. I suppose we may have a debate when we have our next history meeting, but the Human Rights Act is not the beginning and the end of our civil liberties and our rights in this country. They arose far earlier. In fact, I'm reading a book about Simon de Montfort now and 1265 and this, that, and the other. You're going to tell me that what Simon de Montfort did is all of a sudden going to be scrapped because we don't have an ID card or we scrap the Human Rights Act? No, it ain't. Sorry. But we say that this is about getting into bed with reform. This isn't about getting into bed with reform or anyone else. This is about our civil liberties. If we want to go down previous lines, David Davis resigned his seat back in, I think it was about 2008, 2009. When the last Labour government attempted to introduce it and forced a by-election on the issue of identity cards. And David Davis, you can agree with him or not, but he's a very, very principled politician indeed. Councillor Hay mentioned about tackling issues that we could be debating those night. Well, we can't without the £1.4 billion, which we're now going to be spending on the first leg of identity cards. But let's actually dig down into what this is. This is about smoke and mirrors, about dealing with the crisis across the Channel. Because not one illegal immigrant is going to be deterred from coming across in a dinghy because they need an identity card. That's what it's being sold on. But the rest of us will pay the price because we will have to have our fundamental civil liberties changed. Councils will have to spend more money on delivering services because we will then have a requirement to prove we are who we say we are. And residents, we spoke about this in September, that residents quite rightly want us to address fundamental issues of importance. Councillor Hancock's, I would invite him to read the Constitution, where it says that motions can be brought on any item affecting residents of the borough. This quite clearly affects residents of the borough. In fact, I know for a fact that you guys have presented motions on nothing to do with this council, but then got it on that technicality. All of a sudden, when it's something to do with your side, it's not fair to use that little bit in the Constitution. Let's pull the other one, please, Mr. Mayor. But £1.4 billion. I was driving home from work yesterday, as it happens, thinking, well, I've got full council tomorrow. What am I going to say? And there was an item on BBC Radio 4, the Today programme, and it said that the whole MOJ budget was £10 billion. And we're about to spend £1.4 billion alone on identity cards. Imagine what we could do with addressing a host of issues that we've all complained about in this chamber in one way or another, about the justice system, about asylum and immigration, about the rising crime, about scrapping jury trials, which is coming up. If we actually look at putting that £1.4 billion into the right systems, we wouldn't need to have some of the draconian measures coming forward, which I include scrapping jury trials with imposing identity cards. I said it last time about our friends at County Council, about if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Well, the same analogy applies to you guys on this with the encroachment of civil liberties. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You are fundamentally eroding the relationship between citizen and state and our civil liberties. And can I just say one final thing? I don't always agree with Councillors Shepherd, plural. We've had plenty of disagreements across this chamber, especially myself and Councillor Jay Shepherd over the years. We get on quite well outside of the chamber, I'd like to think. But actually, to stand up for your principles, regardless of what happens, I salute you, because it isn't easy going against your own party or your own line. But on this, I do actually respect those who stand up for their principles and will go against the corporate line. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I call the recorded vote.
Thank you. In this case, then we shall move on to the vote.
Okay, as before, I will call each member in turn. Please indicate whether you are for, against, or abstaining. Councillor Amici. Councillor Etienne. Councillor Bird. Councillor Bonner. Against. Councillor Bull. Councillor Clark. Councillor Collette. Councillor Cooper. Councillor Croft. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Gutteridge. Councillor Hancocks.
Against.
Councillor Hartshorn. Councillor Hay.
Against.
Councillor Hickling. Against. Councillor Hughes. Against. Councillor Jenkins. Against. Councillor Kangura. Councillor King. Councillor Condacor. Councillor S. Markham. Councillor W. Markham. Councillor Panda. Councillor Price. Against. Councillor Rose. Councillor Saru.
Against.
Councillor J. Shepherd. Councillor T. Shepherd. Councillor C. Smith.
Against.
Councillor R. Smith. Councillor Venson.
Against.
Councillor Walsh. Councillor Watkins,
Against.
Councillor Wilson, Councillor Wright,
Right, this is as before, so 18 against 15, so carried. Item number 11 is preparation for the local election, 7th of May 2026. Councillors, can I draw your attention to an amendment to this report, a copy of which should be on your seat or with you. Councillor Hay, can I invite you to move the recommendation within the report and the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the recommendations in section 2 of the report. It's obviously important. I know you've mentioned it, Mr. Mayor, but I do need to say that as part of moving those recommendations, that includes in the report the revised section 3.2, as you've had on the list there. One of the things that did occur to me in reading, well, the previous version and this one, is the reference to the fact that next May's elections may be the last elections for this council, so it's something to reflect on. But on that basis, and I move the recommendations with the amended section 3.2. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have the second, Councillor Watkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak? In that case, then we will move on to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Looks like unanimous, carried. Item number 12, Corporate Peer Challenge 2025. Can I invite Councillor Watkins to move the recommendation within the report, page number 73?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I was involved in the Corporate Peer Challenge, and I thought it was quite interesting to be questioned and the council services to be questioned. There's quite a few councillors went to that, and it was really interesting and I think really useful. Tom's got some further feedback, so I'll pass over to Tom. Thank you.
Just in brief, really, to set the scene for members and the next steps. So we've had the Local Government Association peer review for our council. This is the last review since the previous one done in 2021. The peer review process sees experienced peers, so a combination of officers and members from other councils that come to assess how this council is performing in key areas such as leadership, governance, financial planning and service delivery. And it's designed to give constructive feedback from industry professionals to help drive best practice within the industry to help the council grow and develop. The report is provided as printed. In summary, it highlighted several significant strengths, our strong organisational leadership, our clear commitment as an authority to regeneration and economic growth, positive relationships with partners and communities, and progress, albeit further progress to come, in modernising services and maintaining financial resilience in a challenging environment. The peer review is really about how we grow those, so it has given some areas for development, and these can be summarised around strengthening our long-term strategic planning, enhancing our organisational capacity to deliver major projects, and improving how we communicate our successes and our priorities to our residents and stakeholders. Next steps, so we will look at this report over the coming period as officers and provide a series of recommendations in terms of an action plan, and I hope to submit that to Cabinet for consideration early in 2026. And the peer review team will return in the next year to do a follow-up visit to measure our progress against that and report back against that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. I guess we still need the seconder. Can I have the seconder, Councillor Hay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to second that and the recommendations. Thank you.
Is it Councillor Wilson? You want to speak? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too participated in the peer review. I would like to move an amendment, and I hope it will be accepted because it actually arises from one of the recommendations within the report. And my amendment to what has been put forward is that the peer review challenge report and the subsequent action plan be referred to the overview and scrutiny panels to consider and decide if any further work items for those overview and scrutiny panels are necessary. It does actually reference in there about bringing on board scrutiny, and I think it would be worthwhile to do because there are a number of things in there that could be looked at by an overview and scrutiny panel. I hope it will be received as a friendly amendment.
Right, I think I've been advised that, is it before the cabinet, before it goes to the cabinet or after the cabinet?
It might be useful if it's possible to go before cabinet because there might be things for cabinet to consider, but I don't want to delay the timetable. It will depend on the timetable, which I'm not aware of. So I would leave that in. I'm happy to delegate that particular decision in line with the chief executive, the leader, and the respective chairs of the OSPs.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yeah, more than happy to accept that amendment, as long as it doesn't hold anything up. We've had some clear guidance from the LGA, so we just need to get on with it. But I've got no problem with scrutiny at all, and I did mention that within the review. Thank you.
Are there anybody wish to speak on amendments again? In that case, then we will go on to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. On the amendment, unanimous. Thank you. This now becomes substantive. So does any member wish to speak? If no, we will go on to vote again. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous, carried. Thank you. Okay, item number 13, we got quite a few recommendations from cabinet or the committees. We go one by one. The first one is Treasury Management Update 2025-26. Can I invite Councillor Bono to move the recommendation, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I very quickly say thank you to all the officers for the meeting on the 20th of November because we had, attendance in person of everyone who was required, well, apart from obviously people in Scotland. But yeah, I want to say thank you to the officers for that. And yeah, I'd like to move the recommendations for the Treasury Management Update 25-26 as printed. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have the seconder, Councillor Hughes? Does anybody wish to speak? If no, we're going to move on to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. This is again unanimous. Thank you. Got it. 13B, review of performance management framework and risk management policy and strategy. Again, can I invite Councillor Bonner to move the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, happy to put forward the recommendations. Thank you.
Can I have the seconder? Councillor Price is seconder. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Kondika.
Thank you. I just wanted to sort of highlight the bit 3.1, that's on page 136, about targets and measures. Some of the phrasing makes it a little bit vague, in my opinion. Targets are set by reference to current performance, organisational aims of capacity and benchmarking data. But we need to have ambitious targets, need to be looking at like what the best councils are doing. I mean, I do understand about sort of being smart, but it's really the smart bit is really making sure we've got measurable things in there that we can actually, quantify improvements or if things are going downhill. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have a sort of high target or low target, depending, how the measure is. And the fact that you might not achieve that at any one point, as long as you're moving towards that. Because if you only aim for a very small little improvement, then it's relatively easy to achieve. So it's not a case of trying to make targets easy to get to so it looks good on the sheet and things. I think we need to have ambitious targets, and we really need to be able to measure it, because it says as services go through system reviews, traditional targets may be replaced by a measure of improvement. That to me just it isn't sort of concrete enough. It's far too wishy-washy. So I think wording in there would need to be amended.
Thank you. Are there any other members to wish to speak? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the vote. Please raise your hand. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Carried. Oh. Are there any against? Any abstention? Oh, okay. 2 abstention. My bad. Carried. (13C) Adoption of Borough Plan and Local Development Scheme. This is Councillor Benson. Do you want to move the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to remind everybody, in light of unanimous acceptance across all parties regarding where we are with the Borough Plan, I'd like to move adoption of Borough Plan and Local Development Scheme as set out in 13C. Thank you.
Any second? Councillor Hay, thank you. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to move an amendment to the recommendations as printed, and I'll speak to the amendment first, because depending on what happens to that, I may wish to speak on the substantive motion. But my amendment is that Nuneaton and Bedworth, so this would become point 3 of the recommendations, that Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council opposes the revised housing methodology in the new National Planning Policy Framework, as it imposes an unfair housing target on our borough, and requests the Leader of the Council to write to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government to advise him of our position. I do have copies of that to be shared with the controlling group and the parties in the middle of the chamber. And I believe this is very pertinent to the report we're about to consider tonight, because the report which went to Cabinet, and it shouldn't surprise Cabinet because I spoke about this, it makes clear in the report which went to Cabinet that once we adopt the revised local plan, that we will have a 5-year housing land supply, but only until June next year, I believe it is, because of the new National Planning Policy Framework, in which case we will then have to have an artificially imposed 20% buffer on our 5-year housing land supply. Now, let us bear in mind that the National Planning Policy Framework will see an 84% increase in the housing target for this borough. Now, we are 30 square miles, Mr. Mayor. Where do we think all this housing is going to go? We have already built almost, well, actually onto the border of the Wattling Street in most places. We are building out to the border almost with Rugby and Whitestone. We are infilling the gap between Bulkington and Bedworth. Where are we going to have left for green fields, green belt, open space, the lungs of our borough? This isn't about saying no housing. This is about saying fair housing. And as I have said a number of times, residents are not NIMBYs. They are not anti-development on the whole. What they are is pro-fairness. How can I, as the elected representative for Whitestone, and this is what I had to do, and Councillor Guttridge had to stand there with me, have to say to them, land at the end of Golf Drive, currently in the Greenbelt. We're going to have to take that out because Coventry has an overspill. And by the way, they're keeping more of their green belts, but you have to sacrifice yours. How is that fair? It isn't. If Coventry have exhausted all their options, there is an argument, but they had not exhausted all their options. And we are potentially at risk of having, because of the inflated numbers across the country, of having to look at bearing the imposition of housing in our borough. We also have potentially a greater spatial strategy coming up, which the government is imposing on combined authorities, which may mean that because of Birmingham's urban sprawl, North Warwickshire, it will fill into there and North Warwickshire knocked down. We also have the south of the county where they get caught up in the Worcestershire strategic housing market area. They took not 1% of Coventry's overspill because they were caught in Worcestershire's overspill. I think it is only fair, and Councillor Hancock, I can imagine now, is going to say it's just writing another letter. He's right, it is another letter. You raised it on the last one, and to an extent, you're right. It is another letter. That's all we have the power to do because we do not hold those levers of power to directly change the national planning policy framework. What we do have the power to do is say we are the councillors at the coalface. We are the ones who have to face our residents. We are the ones who have to sit with our hands tied behind our back when it comes to planning applications because you, Mr. Secretary of State, have ramped up our housing numbers. We will debate what is fair. We will not take what is fundamentally unfair, where we are seeing other areas in the country seeing dramatic reductions. And I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that they are urban Labour predominant areas. I don't think that's a coincidence. The word earlier was gerrymandering, I believe someone used over there. Quite right. But this is truly an instance of gerrymandering, the housing numbers. So I would encourage council to support this amendment because it speaks up for our residents who we have seen over a number of years have seen their areas eroded, battered, fundamentally changed beyond all recognition because they have been asked to take on what is unfair. If it was just a small patch here, a small patch there, that's what happened with the land at the Crem. The then county council wanted to use it for a gypsy and traveller site, but residents said we would accept it as Whitestone's contribution towards the housing numbers. So I challenge the party opposite to vote for their residents and support our amendment.
Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Watkins, can you sit down for a while? Thank you. Can I have the seconder for this proposed amendment? That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There is no need to. Okay, Councillor Watkins, you want to go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know I've been unwell, so my patience is thin. I have no problem writing another letter. I just wonder if the group opposite who keep asking me to write letters have got absolutely any idea on how many letters they've actually asked me to write, because they haven't asked me to read out one reply. But I have no problem writing another letter to the Secretary of State about housing, because we have already wrote to the Secretary of State about housing, and especially concerning the empty homes. The empty homes that are within the borough. As Councillor Hayes already said, there's over 1,500. There's quite a few more than that. So we do need to, and to take them into consideration when considering building new homes. It was brought up at the borough plan, so I have been working with the planning team, who are also doing some work in the background to try and take into account the empty homes towards the new homes that are built. So we are doing a lot of work in the background already. So I have no problem writing another letter, Mr. Mayor. So I do second it. Yeah.
Okay, that was seconded. Does anybody wish to speak on this proposed amendment? Councillor Handcocks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Wilson for showing us these special powers of knowing what I'm going to say, which I'm not going to say, Mr. Mayor. So anyway, but seriously, on the actual report in front of us to do with the local plan, we all know, well, those of us that have been about for a while know how long it all takes to do a review of the local plan. As soon as you've done the review, the next day you start it again, and that's not a bad thing. What is a good thing about adopting the local plan tonight is it gives clarity to us. It gives clarity to us as councillors. It gives clarity to those councillors that are members of the Planning Applications Committee, and it gives clarity to applicants and the public, because planning's one of them. You're for it or against it. And I always tell people, don't come on the planning committee if you want some votes, because you're going to upset somebody and you're going to make somebody happy. But what it will do is give clarity and guidance, particularly to those members on the planning committee when they're determining applications, which should be done in accordance with the local plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? If no, in that case, then we move on to the vote for the proposed amendment. All those in favour? This is unanimous. Now this becomes substantive. So, does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did say that I would speak on the substantive item when it came forward. And can I thank Councillor Hancock for engaging in some festive banter? It's always good fun. He knows that I have a begrudging respect for him after our years of service together. I am pleased that Council has accepted the amendment, because it is important. And I do remember that when we proposed something similar a year ago, it was rejected. So I'm pleased to see that this is coming forward. But on the substantive item about the local plan itself, the review, I would like to actually put on record my thanks to Councillor Richard Smith, because as the portfolio holder, pay attention, Councillor Smith, as the portfolio holder, he did a lot to drive forward the local plan review when we were in control and administration. We had many meetings about this, and it is a testament to his hard work and leadership of the planning team that it has got to the stage it is at. And I will always be proud that when we started the process of the review, we took a deliberate stance that we would accept no further declassification of the Greenbelt. That was our one red line we would not accept. We had a number of potential developers complain to us that they wanted to take stuff out of the Greenbelt, but we stood fast. There were probably places which would have made strategic sense to do it, but because it was in the Greenbelt, we would not do that, because it opened us up to potential challenges from Coventry. Actually, we were told at the time that we could be challenged by Coventry. That was professional advice from officers, but we took a view that residents had seen enough declassification of Greenbelt and we weren't going to go any further. I fear that we may end up having to go further if the current national trajectory holds true. But there's a lot of hard work gone into this from the planning team, and I thank the planning team for all the hard work which has gone in. I do not underestimate the scale of the challenge on that. But there was the strong leadership of Councillor Smith, I think, deserves to be acknowledged publicly, because he took a lot of battering from certain quarters that it wasn't going as far and as fast as they wanted. But bearing in mind the standing stop we inherited, I truly believe that Councillor Smith move mountains to get it to the state it's in now. And I think a lot of residents will not actually appreciate the debt that they will owe him for the work that he has done on that. They've saved a number of fields. So I endorse the recommendations as printed, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. In this case, then we will move on to the vote for this substantive item. All those in favour, please raise your hands. It's unanimous. Carried. Thank you. Item number 13D, draft budget 2026-27. Councillor Hay, can I invite you to move the recommendation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It went to Cabinet last week, as Councillor Wilson knows. There was a lot of information there about what may or may not happen, but it was too many ifs and buts in it and what have you. We're eagerly awaiting the grant settlement, which we haven't got yet, but we'll when we've got that, then I will look at all of this properly. However, I'm told that we have to approve this particular recommendation, which formally changes the council tax base for 26-27. So on that basis, I formally move that recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have the Councillor Watkins is the second. You want to say something?
No, Mr. Mayor. I'll just I'm happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Please keep raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15. All those against? All those abstentions? 17 versus 14, carried. Item number 13A, Capital Monitoring Quarter 2. Can I invite Councillor Hay to move your recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And simply on this one, I will move those recommendations as before you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have the seconder, Councillor Watkins? Do you wish to speak? Or...
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just second it.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak on this? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous, carried. Thank you. Not too long to go. Item number 13F, Statement of Licensing Pollution. Can I invite Councillor Tracy Seford to move the recommendation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the recommendation as printed on the attached addendum. Thank you.
The seconder, Councillor Watkins. Does anybody wish to speak? No. In that case, then can we move on to the vote? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous, carried. Thank you. This was the end of our agenda of business for tonight. Couple of things. Let me find out what the thing says. As we have come towards the end of our this year, this was our very last meeting. I would like to thank you so much for contributing and being nice to each other, respecting each other. as the Christmas and New Year is approaching soon, I would like to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2026. You have a wonderful one with your family, friends, and loved ones. Also, very last one, I think we're not going to meet again. If you have got time, please join me in my mayor's parlor for drinks and tidbits. You are more than